Hello guys, welcome back to our React Native live coding series. I'm Simon, of course, and we are on Celcud Digital YouTube channel. So if you remember last week we generated the app in Expo CLI, and we actually got that app running. We restructured the folders a little bit, and we created pull requests. We created a repo in GitHub where it all lives. Let me actually bring up GitHub, and also let me turn that music down a little. Okay, so let's just get to my organization on GitHub. This is where I created my repo. This is where you can actually find the code yourself. You can clone this repo. It's absolutely public. It's free to clone it. You don't have to pay anything for it, of course. So this is our repo. We've got Git flow initialized. We do have a develop and master branches right now. So this is what we did last week. And today we're going to be doing a little bit more coding, first of all, and then secondly, we are going to create a continuous integration for our app using CircleCI. So we can actually get familiar with CircleCI. I have never used it before, so it's actually going to be a real test for me as well, because I'm going to be learning it as we speak, so you guys can see what the process is. If you don't know, a new tool, right? There is a process to learn it. There is a process to start using it, and I want to make this series as raw as possible, so you can actually see how I run into issues, how I solve them, and how a real life example, real life developer's job looks like, right? Because if you follow some sort of tutorials online, they always go as smoothly as possible. It's always super easy to follow them, but that's not what actually happens in real life. In real life, we do run into issues, we do run into problems, and we have to solve them. We have to find a way how to solve it, how to learn something new if we don't know a new tool. And this is what I'm actually going to be doing today as well. I'm going to be learning CircleCI. It's really, apparently it's a very common CI tool for React Native. So this is why I went for it. So I previously created an account. I signed up to CircleCI, but it's free, so you can also sign up and you can create an account for yourself free of charge, so there is nothing you have to pay for. Okay, so I already authorized CircleCI in my GitHub, so I can actually see my repos in CircleCI, which is great because obviously this is a continuous integration tool, and as soon as we push something into one of our branches, it should trigger some tasks in here, right? Depending what we want to achieve. But basically what we want to have is like a flow, let's say. So whenever we push, for instance, to master, when we create a release, we push it to master, we want CircleCI to trigger the build, and if the build runs okay, It can run tests as well. So if everything passes, if everything builds all right, then that artifact gets pushed to, it gets deployed to wherever we want, right? We can distribute it to either test flight, which is basically a pre-app store kind of space. So when you create your native apps and you distribute them to App Store, they have to go through a thing called test flight, and this is where your testers or some people can test it before it hits the public, right? And this is probably the best what you want to do before getting it released to public. You want to deploy it to test flight and let your testers play with it, you know, have a play with the app and search for the bugs. But anyway, so let's get started with CircleCI. I have never used this before, by the way, so this is going to be a live, real life example from me, and it's actually going to be a test for myself because I don't know this still at all. I might run into questions, and then we'll obviously try to find solutions for those questions, right? So as you can see, there are some organizations, there are some projects related from GitHub, which I can see already in CircleCI. So this is our app. This is what we created last week. Okay, so I'm just going to select that one, as this is obviously React Native live coding. So we're going to be focusing on our app, and this is what I have selected to see in my dashboard, right? So this is where it takes me. It's taken me to my dashboard, and it says that that the build failed straight away, which is weird because there is obviously nothing in there. Ah, there you go. That's why. All right, cool. So it says that there is no configuration whatsoever in my project, and therefore it fails. You know, like CircleCI found the repo, and it cannot actually start doing anything because it doesn't know what to do without the configuration. Excuse me. So let me actually refer to the docs and see what they've got to say in the docs about the config, as it might be quite interesting. Okay, so this seems to be a proper API docs, but what we want is a React Native CircleCI configuration, right? This is what we are after. There you go. They seem to have a specific page for React Native, which is great. Okay. So I already do have an account. Which takes me back here. That's definitely not what I wanted. Okay, so it looks like we have to add .circleci/config YAML file. Let me just see what they actually have in here. So this is the project settings, and right, so it shows you where you can deploy it. Right, it shows some of the settings that you can set in here, which is actually quite cool. Okay, so we might want to that's not what we want. Eventually we'll probably add some environment variables like keys to Google Analytics and some other sensitive data which you don't want to store in your repo. You don't want to share this information to the public, so you definitely have to keep it in the environment variables, which are basically hidden from the public, right? So this is where you want to set all your sensitive data. Okay, that's nothing. I won't worry about the tests for now. Right, so this is where you can actually set your integration hooks. So you can actually have notifications appearing in your messages or whatever. If you're using Slack or HipChat, you can get notified in whatever channel saying that the build was successful or failed. There you go. This is the status badge, which you might want to add to your README file in your GitHub, so it would actually appear somewhere here where you can where somebody can see if it builds alright or not, if the build is still working. Okay, so these are the keys. But anyway, so let's get back here. So first of all, it looks like we have to add this file to CircleCI. So we basically have to create a folder called .circleci, and then within that folder we want to add a file called config.yaml. And then in that file we just want to add some configuration or configurations. Okay. Wondering if there is a way to actually find a pre-made React Native config file, because that would be something useful, right? Like, I'm pretty sure. Okay, so there are some examples. I don't think there is actually parallel jobs, sequential workflow, fan in, fan out. Not sure what that means yet. It seems to be a bit overcomplicated for our React Native app. So what I really want is just an example file. Some example file which I can use to create my config file, because I don't really have time for getting into the docs, right? I don't really have time to read all the documentation, and I'm pretty sure people have done it before. So definitely we should be able to just use it from somewhere else. Okay, so basically it defines the version, it creates the jobs, it says what to use for a particular for the particular job. So for Android, do this, use Docker, there are some steps. Okay, it seems to be running Fastlane as well, and some tests. For iOS, it sets the Xcode version. It sets Ruby version. Okay, interesting. Let's see if this is going to work. I'm not sure if this is actually super basic. I would love to have something a bit more basic than this, but if this is what it is, then let's give it a try. So we can say CircleCI config file created, right? We pushed up. Brilliant. So if we go back to our GitHub page, they should really have some sort of WebSocket, which would fetch the changes, and it would just highlight the changes, so you can create a pull request of it or something. Maybe because I'm not on develop. Nope. Okay, so there is this. Okay, excellent. So it looks like CI, the CircleCI is already picked up only by committing that file. It seems to be checking. It seems to be running the tests. It seems to be running the jobs, right? So it looks like it's working, which is great. Let's actually see if it builds, if it goes. All right. Go back to jobs. Okay, so we can see that the first one failed. The second one is running. I actually quite like how, I haven't seen it before. I quite like how it shows, it indicates this, right? So it shows that it's running it's running CI, basically. It builds, right? So that's quite cool that we can see that there is something happening. This is exactly what we want. And if something fails, wondering if this would be changed to a failed badge, failed status as well. Interesting. But anyway, so this is how it runs. Okay, so you can see that it runs some tests, creates some snapshots, etc. Which pretty much should fail by now. I mean, this test failed. Yeah, so I thought that should just kill the process and it should mark it as failed and then exit the entire build, right? Anyway, let's just see. Let's see what fails. Let's fix the tests and then we can run it again. So what's the command for test? It's yarn test. Ah, I see. I think it's because it watches it, so it never exits. It should run. So the CI shouldn't really watch for the changes. Let me guys know what you think about the series so far. You can leave the comments down below this live coding, would love to say video, but it's just a live coding session really. Or you can also use the chat if you have any questions or recommendations. You can use the live chat so we can talk about something interesting. Okay, running the tests again. To see if it runs alright. If not, we'll fix the tests. Whereabouts are they? Up there. Takes ages to run them, to be fair. I mean, it's only a small test and it takes already a minute. I'm not entirely sure why is that. But it looks like the tests passed. All right. Which is fine, which is great. This is exactly what we needed. But what we don't want is this flag, right? So we want to create another script, another command to watch the tests, yeah, but CircleCI should only run it and never watch it, because it actually doesn't need to watch for the changes, because that's what watch is for. It watches for the changes, so you can have your test runner running in the background and still develop your app at the same time and then when you change something, your tests would reflect to that change, right? So they would actually show you if something changed or not. Okay, let's open Git Lens as well. Quite like to have that feature in there. All right, cool. It seems to be running okay. Everything seems to be passing. I'm just going to add those changes. Test changes. I could actually say test commands changed. Test commands changed. Okay, so pushing it to GitHub again, pushing it to our repo. So I'm going to cancel this job, as I think it would just watch it forever. It would just carry on going, and that's not what we need. We just want to run those tests and not watch for the changes. So we basically want to check if the tests pass and then carry on, right? If something fails, then obviously kill the process, exit the runner, and that's it. But if they all run fine, don't watch for the changes. Yeah, there you go. So now it looks like it passed. It passed the test pretty quickly. Now it took it 11 seconds. There you go. It's all green. Surprisingly, that one little fix did the trick for us. I mean, it wasn't very verbose. And if somebody isn't experienced enough, I mean, that would probably be a mind quiz, right? I would have to do some debugging and checking where and why it all breaks and why it keeps running forever. It will be a disaster. Luckily, I had a guess, and that was it. So there you go. So now our build is successful. It took literally like, I don't know, 20 seconds or so. 5, 11, yeah, so 25. Well, maybe a bit more. Maybe around 30, 40. Yeah, there you go. No, that's when it finished. Yeah, but okay, 54 seconds. My bad. I'm sorry. My bad is grammatically incorrect. Actually, should have said my mistake. But that doesn't matter. As long as it builds. Whoops. As long as it builds, everything is fine. Okay, so there you go. So this is Node. Node, Android, iOS, and Node, Android. Oh, I see. Okay, so these are our apps, right? So Node run fine. It run fine because it only installed, as I can see, it only installed dependencies. The uninstalled dependencies, and it just run tests, but that's not what we were after. So okay, now let's go to iOS and see what happens. Right, okie dokes. So I can see that I have to select macOS plan to actually build iOS app, because obviously that has to be run on the Mac. Yeah, I think it needs Xcode or whatever to create a build. This is not very useful, is it? It tells you to choose and Mac OS plant below, and there are no plants. This is crazy. Anyway, I think I know where I saw it. So do you remember when we first got to that page and we were checking some of the configuration? I think it was right there. So let's go back to jobs, and there is that little cog next to your app's name. So if you select that and then build environment and you go for build macOS project, if you turn it on, that should do the trick. Okay, so they're recommending to migrate to version 2.0. I thought that's exactly what I said in my config file. Let's go back to our config file and see if... Yeah, so we are on version 2.0 already. So I'm not sure what they're on about. But basically what I switched in that configuration tab doesn't seem to be working. Anyway, let's see what happens for Android. Okay. Right. Now I see what it's all about. So basically, because we are using Expo, okay, we are using Expo, and Expo does all the native related things, all the native stuff. It does it for us. It just seems to be happening behind the scenes, right? So we don't actually have Android folder here. We don't have iOS folder here. We don't have to deal with those files ourselves because Expo is covering that bit for us, which is very handy. It is very useful in one way, but then also it doesn't allow us to have those standalone folders, and we can't actually do anything with it. So CircleCI doesn't seem to be it doesn't see those folders, right? First of all, we have to change the name to React Native. Actually, I'm going to take it from the package. So even in the package.json, we haven't set our repo's name to anything. So it should be React Native PhotoApp, which is basically the name of our repo and the name of our folder locally, and this is going to be the name of our project and our working directory. So there you go. In Android, as you can see, there is actually more of this around. So I'm going to replace it all. Okay, cool. This example, this config file seems to be outdated because we already have Xcode 10.0 or 10.1. But anyway, so yeah, so basically Expo, you can, so there are a couple of things we can do here, right? So first of all, to have those folders, to have Android and iOS folders, to have those working directories for both apps, we would have to eject from Expo and use Expo Kit. So there is that solution to eject from Expo to Expo Kit, right? There you go. So ejecting to Expo Kit is actually a thing, and Expo has documented it quite well, how you can do it. So basically, Expo Kit is all the dependencies, all the tools, all the features that Expo gives you can be used when ejected from Expo, basically. There you go, this is the explanation. So Expo Kit is an Objective-C and Java library that allows you to use the Expo platform and your existing Expo project as part of a larger standard native project. One that you would normally create using Xcode, Android Studio or React Native in it. There are some FAQs in there as well, which explain why or how, you know, you can do it, what is it for, etc. So you can read it on their page. It's docs.expo.io, or you can just Google Expo Kit. So basically, having Android and iOS folders allow you to play with native modules, right? If you want to attach native modules, you have to eject, you have to have those folders in your project, and then you can start adding or start playing with the native modules. Then another thing, so this would be ejecting. Let me actually see if there is a way to use Expo and CircleCI. Probably not. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not 100% sure. But maybe Expo has some recommendations. Okay. Right, here we go. So this is the example file I was after. This is exactly what I wanted to see. So this is exactly what we need to use in here, which is the example React, example Expo config file for CircleCI. I'm actually willing to use yarn. All right, cool. This is it. Right, so app name changed, class, CircleCI config changed as well. Let's push it again and see what happens this time. Let's go back to jobs and did I push it up? Yes, all went up. And now, if I refresh GitHub, what is going to happen? Still doesn't get it. Maybe that was because I changed the config file. Okay, let's go back to here. Right. Okay. So we have to configure our Expo. We basically need to create. We have to create the account in Expo. I think I actually do have an account with Expo. Have to double check. Haven't used it for a while. So not that one. This will be the one. This is my private Expo account with my lovely cartoon avatar. Anyways, let me see if I can log into it. Going to do it in a separate window so I don't show you my password. Going to do it in my I'm going to do it on my second screen so you guys won't see it, but basically what I'm going to do is to run this command so I can log into Expo. And let's see what happens. Ah, no, sorry. This is what you add to your configuration, of course, because it has to run it in the CircleCI. Okay. Release channels. This is what Expo uses. Surprisingly, Yeah, that's fine. So develop. I can't see the latest commit. This is the one 5 minutes ago. Okay. Fine. So this went fine. Okay, so let's get back here to see what it actually does. Don't need that one, do I? Actually, I think I do have Expo CLI already installed. Yeah, so I basically PX. Right. So I think right, I'm going to do it in a separate window so I don't leave my password in here. But what I'm going to do is to add Expo username and password to environment variables, so that it can pick it up when running those jobs, right? Okay, so we basically need it for this. Not entirely sure if this is actually going to get it from CircleCI config. That's exactly what I want. So I want to see if I can actually use All right, cool. This is exactly what I want. Okay, so we have to add, what was that? We have to add Expo username. And the password is going to be my password. Can't tell you that one. All right, excellent, cool stuff. Righty. What have I changed in here? Tell me. Remind me. Got rid of that stuff. Don't think we actually need that change. So, getting back to our CircleCI configuration. So this is what I said. I set Expo password and Expo username in our environment variables. And I set the values, the actual values, which I can't show you. So, right. So this is all set, right? We're all set in here. Workflows, version 2, version 2, Expo dev. Right, so config. This should be called develop. Sorry, I didn't see that. To apologize. That's probably why it wasn't picking it up in CircleCI. We actually have 10 minutes left, so I have to be very quick on this one. I'm sorry I didn't really show you much of React Native, but this is actually something we have to do beforehand to make sure that we have a solid base, and then once we have solid base, once we have our basic procedures in place, then we can actually focus on coding, right? So it's good to spend some time up front setting up your app, so then you can focus on the actual developing. This is a pro tip from a JavaScript developer who's been in the business for more than 15 years now, guys. So yeah, do listen to me. This is a good tip, seriously. This is a good tip because it's always better to start with the right fundamentals, right? If you have your fundamentals done the right way, then it's less likely your app is going to be a mess, pretty much. I mean, you want to set your base as early as possible, because the more you add to your code base, the more you spend on your code base later on without having a proper fundamentals, then you are going to be in trouble, because you will have to refactor a lot, you will have to move things around, and that's not what you want. That's not what is ideal. Okay, haven't selected Mac OS. Okay, I'm going to start a free 2 weeks trial on this. Oh dear. Let's go for seed. Let's go for seed. Okay, can't do it in here unfortunately, but I'm going to do it in on my second screen. I'm just going to update my my plan to use macOS, and then we'll actually move forward, because it looks like CircleCI uses well, but basically if you want to run iOS app, it has to be Mac, and to have that plan you have to pay for it, which is fine by me. I mean, having CI is pretty costly anyway. So I'm quickly going to fulfill that payment details. And I'm going to get that plan. Okie dokes. So I have selected the plan, and if I do refresh it here, you can see that there you go, my Mac OS plan has started, right? So we can go back to our jobs. And we can rerun it. Okay, cool. So it shows that it's running again. Right, there we go. This is what we wanted to see. So it signs up the environment, it checks out the code, it installs all the dependencies, it logs into Expo, which seemed to be fine, authenticated. That means our environment variables worked just fine. And now it's going to publish it to our Expo channel. I haven't set any channels in there, but I think it's going to create one if there isn't any. And once this is done, this is going to be everything for tonight. Unfortunately, there wasn't much coding, but hopefully you can guys have an idea of how to set a continuous integration for your React Native app, which uses Expo. You can do it without Expo, obviously. It's a completely separate thing. So hopefully, fingers crossed, this is going to publish it successfully to Expo. And this is where it's actually hosted. There is a way of hosting it on your own hosting, on your own server. So you don't have to go for Expo. This is just to simplify things. If you are just a hobbyist and you are building a React Native app and you want to host it somewhere real quick, and you are using Expo because Expo is great and it gives you a lot of extra features out of the box, then this is the way to go. Then you can have your CircleCI configured to actually run the build and deploy it for you to Expo channels, which is great, which is very handy, very useful, very easy to set up. I mean, obviously you could see that I had some troubles, but here we go. We've got all successfully deployed, published to Expo, which is great. We can actually see it in Expo now. If I log into Expo on my mobile, it's going to be deployed there. So it's actually hosted somewhere. It shows that, you know, it triggers off develop right now. It will trigger off master as well, because this is what we set in our configuration file. So we filtered the branches. We only deploy to Expo if there were changes pushed to either develop or master. And those are our release channels for development and for production. So this is our master, this is our development. This is great. So we've got our CI set up, which only took us an hour. Come on, and this was live coding as well. So I think you guys enjoyed this this episode, and please do subscribe to our channel. Do leave some comments down below if you enjoyed it. This is going to help us to grow the channel, to grow the community around it as well. It's going to be useful for YouTube to actually filter the content, because if you guys leave the comments, YouTube algorithms pick it all up and they know that there is some interest around this channel. So this is going to help us to grow the channel as well. So thanks for watching, thanks for stopping by, and see you next week with more React Native live coding, because this series is going to be on for the next probably few weeks. So guys, take care and see you